So my presentation is about the standardization of test case formats to achieve a frictionless Fintech QA. And I will explain with Mr. Sakamoto what we have worked on for past 6 months. So I am Sato. I'm a QA engineer at Merpay. Nice to meet you. I am Yuki Sakamoto, also a QA engineer at Merpay. Very nice to meet all of you. So let me explain the QA team structure. The QA team is divided into 3 teams, QA1, QA2, and QA3. Each team is composed of employees and partners, and each member is assigned to Merpay's products to perform QA activities on a daily basis. There are various QA processes for back-end and front-end, and as well as client-facing. And for example, in some cases, no test cases were created, and there are many product teams, and the structure and also the situation of each team varies. Therefore, test cases were evolving as each member devised them according to the situations. Because of this, the format of test cases differed from team to team and from member to member. The continued lack of a standard test case format created some issues. For example, onboarding costs are high when an assignment changes. When a person is transferred from product A to product B team, he or she needs to get used to the test cases used in the new team, and defects detected in a test execution are not managed, or the description of the test results are different by each team. So, because of these different methods employed, it was difficult to obtain the necessary information to understand the quality status. In addition, because of the man-hours required to input the result, it was left unprocessed for a long time. Therefore, it was necessary to summarize the test result again after all QA were completed. Because of the above issues, the test case format standardization project was launched. The following is an explanation of test case format standardization project we worked on. First of all, there are a lot of project policy decisions made, and I'll introduce some of them. First is the scope of standardization of the format. Initially, we decided to set only the minimum rules and to make the format such that each team could modify it with some degree of freedom. We later changed this policy because when we compared the test cases of each team, we found that there was surprisingly little difference in format. So if the test format were too flexible, they would end up being out of control, and there will be a risk of not achieving the objective. So we changed our policy to create the fixed format. We also decided on a policy for project activities. Weekly meetings were held for 1 hour, during which we worked on a project in addition to sharing progress. This was because myself and Mr. Sakamoto were also doing the regular QA work at the same time. So we just wanted to secure time to do this project work in advance. This ensured that project work didn't become stagnant. Next, we conducted a survey of each team's test case format. We sampled and collected about 10 typical test cases from each team. As a result of comparing the sample test cases among the members, and we found that although various test case formats are used by each team, There were not many differences in basic aspects, which gave us some idea of the path to standardization of a test case format. Next, we created documentation. There were 3 major documents created in this project. These are test case format, test result aggregation format, and operational process format. And more details about these documents will be provided later. Next, we conducted a trial. So the trial period was set up to test whether the rules and the format created at the time when the document creation was completed could withstand actual operation. First, we recruited a team to try out the new format and asked them to actually operate it and provide feedback to us, especially what they noticed and what they would like to see improved. I reviewed the feedback with myself, with Mr. Sakamoto, and updated documentation as necessary. We received some feedback during the trial period and found that no major operational problems occurred, so we further refined the documentation for version 1.0 release. The next step is finally the release of version 1.0. After feedbacks from the trial period, we have made some corrections and released it as a version 1. However, it would be difficult for all teams to switch to the new format at all once. We asked them to make the transition to the new format when the time was right for them. The project was launched in December 2022, and the version 1 was released in April 2023. So it took us 5 months to manage and release it. This is the project timeline sheet. The project started on December 10th, 2022, and after several phases, and so the version 1.0 was released on April 20th, 2023. Next is the operational phase. Well, we are currently in the operational phase, but we still have a feedback sheet ready and ask the members to write down their impressions and questions and unclear point after using the system. So if there's any new feedback on the feedback sheet, we discuss it with members in a weekly meeting and update the document as needed. So these are the details of what we worked on this project. Now we'll discuss each of the documents we created in this project. First of all, test case format. Sakamoto-san, would you please explain? Yes, thank you. So I'd like to explain the test case format. First of all, I clarified the purpose. As I mentioned at the beginning, and until now, format differed from team to team. So there are cases where the information necessary for quality analysis could not be obtained. For example, well, the items included in the team's test cases were not really included in a team-based test format. So when we conduct the final quality analysis, we have to obtain the necessary information from a member of Team B through hearing. So this was a waste of time and effort. In addition, that standard format eliminates the need to learn the new format when the members are transferred to a new team. This time saved can be used for other domain catch-up and other important onboarding tasks. Next, we created the test case items on layout. The required items to be included in a test case generally includes a verification perspective, environment to be verified, evidence, procedures to be verified, expected result. However, the required information varies depending on the team and also the verification target. Therefore, in addition to the required items, additional items can be added at the discretion of each team. In addition, since we sometimes ask English speakers to review the test cases, and we translate some of the information into English to make it easier for them to review. In addition to main test cases, we have created other necessary sheets. One is a bug list sheet. Until now, each team had to manage detected bugs at its own location. So during large-scale cross-team development, we had to go to each, again, team's location to check for bugs once again. And so this type of activity was time-consuming to aggregate all of the bugs. Therefore, we created the bug list sheet in a format and made it possible to track the bugs by simply going there to check them. And next is automated test result sheet. This sheet records the results of the automated test performed at the time of the release. Until now, method of recording the result of automated tests was not standardized and was insufficient as a test trail. But by clearly defining the rule that the results of automated tests are to be recorded in the sheet, we now have a clear trail in the format that the automated tests were properly executed and the QA confirmed the result. And there are also test result and tally sheet and a checklist, which will be explained by Mr. Sakamoto.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to talk about the test result aggregation. By making the test result aggregated, we were able to understand the quality situation for each team, and also by creating the aggregated result sheet beforehand, we are able to improve the efficiency of creating the report for quality. The rule that we decided was that the types that are used in test case result would be separated into 5, OK, NG, resolved, out of scope, and preserved. And for reserved, for each team, it was quite separate. So for the standardization, we have uniformed the definition of reserve. And in the test aggregation, we have decided the items to be aggregated to be specific, a number of items in the target, OK, NG, resolved, outside of scope, reserved, progress, completion rate, and related remaining items. And we decided the items, and also the calculation method for each items were also decided. So depending on the team, if the progress calculation method was different, or if there's the different way of counting the items, these differences were solved, so we were able to count them in the same way. In Merpay, we're using this aggregation sheet to manage the test results. Next is related to the operation process. The objective is that the test case format that was defined, we are seeing whether the operation is done correctly, and in order to do so, we have defined the operation process. It covers many details, but during the test, the failures that were detected will be summarized into the bug list, and the auto test result will be described in the auto test result sheet. Those were the contents that were covered. And in order to confirm whether the operation is done correctly, we have also created a checklist. And this is the checklist that we created. But once the test is completed, the check is placed on a checklist, and we are able to confirm whether the tests are conducted based on the rule. Also, I would like to move into the summary, and I would like to discuss this with myself and Sakamoto-san. Sakamoto-san, there are some good points. I'm sure there were several. Any comments from you? Well, it's written here, but when we design the test case, I always consider what sort of format to use, and I spent a lot of time wondering, but because the format was already available, I was able to reduce any time spent on wondering what the format should be used. And so because of that, I was able to focus more on the things that I need to do in designing a test case. And it says test case review efficiency improvement. The test case review is not just involving the QA engineers, but also developers might be involved as well. And so the benefit was given to people other than QA engineers. Yes, I agree. When we do test case review, if the format is different, I sometimes be asked to do the review from other teams, but I would have to look for the sheet. So the review is much more efficient when the format is integrated and standardized. Yes, and also we were able to understand the progress better. I mean, until now, when we wanted to check the progress, I would have to go through different sheets to understand. But this time, we created this test result aggregation sheet. So once I can refer to the sheet, it was easier to understand the progress. So I thought this was quite good. Yes, I agree. And I asked the partners, but because the format is standardized, we could understand the progress at a glance, and that was helpful. And we were able to reduce the workload for onboarding when the team had migrated. Well, we don't have that many cases where the teams are moving, but I'm hoping that the onboarding costs will be reduced. Yes, I'm sure it will be reduced. Those were the good things. And the next were the difficulties. We had a lot of difficulties, but the most difficult part was that it was very difficult to create a test case format that fulfills all the requirements. Yes, I agree. I mean, if we try to build in all the opinions from everybody, it would be a messy format. And it would lose the meaning of building a format. So we needed to prioritize and be selective from all the priorities. It's okay to reflect their opinions, but if we skip an opinion, I would have to wonder how I will explain the reason why we skipped it to the person who raised the opinion. So that was another difficulty. Yes, we just wanted to standardize whatever that should be standardized. So any other difficulties? When we decided the initial policy, for example, between backend and client, the nature was different, and we tried to build it into one standardized format. That required a lot of courage because the nature is different. I wasn't sure whether we could use the same format, but we found out that it was okay after trying it out, so that was reassuring. But I was very cautious of that part. myself and Sakamoto-san have our ordinary task, and at the same time, I was participating in this project. It was only 1 hour a week, but when it was busy, it was quite difficult to spare the time for this project. Yes. When I joined operation, sometimes I said I cannot go to the project, so it was quite difficult to do those tasks in parallel. Thank you. Next. Well, through this project, we had some unexpected benefits. To be specific, the communication within the QA team had improved. Well, based on this current LP QA team structure, because they're assigned to each product team, we didn't have that much opportunity to have communication within the QA members. And also, the QA members don't work on one thing together. So through this project, the communication, I think it was really meaningful that we were able to have communication with the members we didn't talk to that much. Well, to Sakamoto-san, because we reside in different product teams, until now we didn't have that much discussion. But with this project, I think we have pretty good communication. Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, if you're in a different project, you're not working on one thing like this for a long time. And I thought it was great that I was involved in this project for a long time. And if we were to do another mission together, I think it would be much smoother. Yes. Because we know each other more, even in the ordinary QA process, if I don't know something, I would be able to approach you more casually. Lastly, I would like to talk about the challenges that we see and the actions we're going to take going forward. As the challenge is not penetrated to all the teams yet, so I want to penetrate this to as many teams as possible, because by having many teams use this, we can get more feedback, and by referring to those feedback, we can better improve the format. And also for the things that we want to do going forward, we want to try and automatically create the test result report. The test case format and the aggregation were standardized, and we were able to gather the information that's required for the test result or report to a certain extent. So at the time the test is completed, we want to be able to automatically create the test result. Yes, the last point. If you're able to do the last phase automatically, that would contribute to reducing the workload a lot. So I don't know how, but I would love to do this. Yes, let's try doing this. Thank you. That will be all for the context that we addressed during the test case format standardization project. Thank you very much for your attention.